Welcome to the Big Play Cleveland Show. I'm Gabriella Kreuz alongside Chris McNeil, Nick Pedone. Everybody may be a little bit tired today after all the Super Bowl, staying up to watch the overtime. It kind of finally picked up there at the end, you guys. I'm kind of pooped today. What did you win?
Yeah, I think everybody won some bets, right, Chris? I mean, we even called out last week some props on the show, game to go to overtime and that whole thing. So
Only the second
I nailed
time it's
it.
ever been.
Yeah.
I said this thing was going to go to overtime. Second time now in Kyle Shanahan's career that it's gone to overtime in a Super Bowl game that he's coached in. And pretty amazing. Yeah, and that was a $5 bet, paid off $65. I had so many different parlays going. I had like 8 different bets. I didn't even know what to root for. I was rooting for points, which obviously didn't work out particularly well for me.
Yeah.
But I did at the end of the day have the Chiefs to win and a couple of players that I brought along for that bet, so that helped out. But I thought it was a fun Super Bowl. What were your thoughts?
yeah, thought it was fun. Obviously made some money on the Chiefs. Just bet on Patrick Mahomes at this point, and the rest will take care of itself, it really seems. I mean, that's just such an easy bet to make. I love the Chiefs all week long. I tried to talk myself out of it all week long. I'm glad that I didn't, and I'm glad that I went with the Chiefs because won a good amount of money on that. I think the one heartbreaker, Chris, if you will, I was surprised, and I think this ruined a lot of parlays out there. No Travis Kelce anytime touchdown.
Right.
That definitely ruined one of my parlays, and I was surprised that it didn't happen. It was close a couple of times.
That's why he was so mad in Andy Reid's face, My girlfriend's watching.
Yeah, you got Hardman finishing off the deal yesterday. I don't think anybody had that.
No.
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 And everybody rooting for Kelce, I think, kind of to finish that off. I know a lot of people had that in their parlays. I certainly had it in at least 2 of my 8 or so. I had Kelce score in there. So, but ultimately, I thought it was fun. And you kind of had the storybook ending with Taylor Swift, with Travis Kelce. You got the confetti coming down. So it's everything that, any fairy tale would have wanted, right?
Do you think we're underappreciating the greatness of Patrick Mahomes? Like, every time I watch him, like, what speed? He's playing at a different level than anyone, and he's playing at the highest level. I don't understand.
I think nationally people aren't. People are already talking about him as the GOAT today.
Yeah.
After the third Super Bowl MVP. They're already talking about him with the Bradys up there. And, what is he, 28 years old?
Right.
He's got some time. So he's going to have that leeway or he's going to have that runway to kind of show whether he truly
But
is.
he's so much more athletic than Tom Brady. I guess where I, as a viewer, I'm like, that greatness conversation of being compared to him, cool, it's very warranted. But I'm just kind of like, he's also playing. He's so quick. He's so athletic. He's so versatile. He's just his own thing also, not in comparison to Tom Brady.
So you've already got him as the GOAT.
I think so. I'm just like, what is this kid even at the end of the game? And he just grinds. He can lock it in. He can focus. He's just a multifaceted player. I enjoy watching him play.
And he's really grown into that, Gab. Like, if you remember when he was coming out of the draft, he admitted he didn't even know how to read an NFL defense at that point. So give Andy Reid a lot of credit, too, for kind of bringing him along on this venture to greatness together, because there was a point not too long ago, 28 years old, that he wasn't even a surefire NFL quarterback prospect. Certainly impressive. Crazy to see his growth in that department. And crazy to see, too, I think we're all in agreement. This is the worst Chiefs team in the Mahomes-Reid era. This, we all thought, was going to be a down year for Patrick Mahomes and the Kansas City Chiefs, and they won the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
Going to be hard to get past that guy in the AFC.
Yeah.
What did you guys think of the halftime show? I have to ask.
Sweaty.
Oh my gosh, so funny. McNeil, thank you for retweeting me today. I just had the Usher sweaty
Banger
meme.
out there for Gab.
It was, for those of you who didn't see it, or Ryan, you can superimpose this, but Usher very sweaty, and the caption was me trying to parallel park with approximately one person watching.
I'm heartbroken that there was
situation.
no Justin Bieber, man.
I know.
Why?
can't
What
believe
do
our
I
guy
have to
didn't
do?
show for
He was
us.
all the way out in Vegas from Canada, and he's at the game, and he doesn't come out at halftime. And I knew it was screwed up when they showed him in the suite. I'm like, well, that's cooked. Like,
Yeah.
he needs to be backstage
had
lacing up the
Alicia.
purple Supras and getting ready to go out there and dance with Usher.
I was just as happy to see my boo. I was all about it.
Cavs owners having a pretty good week
Yeah.
between Usher, Myles Garrett winning Defensive Player of the Year. Pretty good week for
Look
Cavs
at us
ownership,
go.
right?
That was
Speaking-
awesome. The Brown
Cavs.
sweep at the NFL honors, man. That was cool. I'll tell my grandkids about that beautiful day in February.
We will be getting into the
Individual
Cavs, but
awards.
they are 9 games in a row they've won 17 of the last 18. They're back at Rocket Mortgage tonight, so that'll be exciting. We have a lot to go over the show. And, baseball, baby. I got my Dobie shirt on. We have a special guest in studio. Do you guys want to take our first break? We can come back with our
Yeah,
our
let's
special
do it.
guest.
Let's do it.
Thanks for watching the Big Play Cleveland show. We'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland show. I'm Gabriella Kreuz alongside Chris McNeil, Nick Pedone, just recapping the weekend of excitement with the Super Bowl and all the good things we have in Cleveland coming up with our sports teams. The Cavs are hot, and we got baseball finally, baby. And we
Pitchers
got
and catchers reporting this week. Let's go.
Yes. Are you guys going to spring training or what?
Dude, I mean, don't ask the question. You know the answer. We're trying to figure
I'm trying
something
to go.
out.
No, I really do want to go because
I want to go with you.
There's a special thing happening on the 20th. I want to be there for. I don't know if it hasn't been released yet or not, so I'm not going to say it yet. But I'll talk about it later.
Cool. Yeah, let's go. Let's run it back. I'm down. I was just
do
in
it.
Vegas. Hit
Oh,
Indy.
yeah, how was your
hit
Vegas
Indy for
trip?
NBA All-Star maybe, and then hit spring training. Why not?
Yeah,
Why
you're-
not? Hop all around the U.S. Man, Vegas was fun. It was cool. It was definitely a Super Bowl week. Like there was a ton of people all over the place. I saw Gary V, which was
Oh,
kind of
did you?
crazy. I locked eyes with Gary V from across Radio Row. I'm like, is that him? And then he looked at me right in my soul. I'm like, he knows that I've made fun of him in so many group chats. Like, it definitely was Gary V.
Really? Why?
I mean, he's kind of corny. He's not my cup of tea. Like,
Okay, yeah,
Because then
he
he said like and in his path for success or whatever, he's like your parents. He's like, kill your parents. It's like that's great. That's just a crazy thing to say. He's a crazy individual.
I never heard him say that one, but
I mean,
yeah.
I think he gets very excited
Yeah.
and like just kind of like a little bit out of whack.
Yeah, but I mean, you got to be a little out of whack to be to that level.
But
too,
I
guess.
mean, when he locked eyes with me, I think he definitely knew that I've made fun of him.
He wanted to
before.
make out. No, I'm just kidding.
No,
All
he
right.
knew that. I think it was quite the opposite. It was like this guy's made fun of me, and I'm gonna go punch him in the face.
All
Like
right,
that was the
well,
look that he
glad
gave
you
me.
avoided that.
Well, that was my Super Bowl week. Yeah,
It would have made good content.
it would
Yeah,
have.
very-
that
It
would
would
have been
have.
something. I actually really wish we had that moment on camera.
I should have asked to go play blackjack with him. I'm like, Gary, let's get the hell out of here and go play some blackjack.
All right, guys, we've got our garage beer interview ahead of us, and today we're welcoming in Jensen Lewis.
Yes.
Um,
Wearing a great shirt, by the way.
Yeah, look at
you
that.
know, bro.
I
Yes.
figured if I was going to make my debut, I'd have to wear some of the swag, so I appreciate it as always.
love
Love
it.
it.
Absolutely. Pitchers and catchers reporting this week. Baseball season finally here. It feels like it snuck up because the Guardians didn't make a lot of moves. It was kind of a quiet offseason. Were you surprised on how things were kind of quiet throughout this winter, really?
I think with the whole RSN situation, it really not only curtailed that from the Guardians side, but certainly you look at Texas, Minnesota as well, just some of those clubs we know that were directly affected by it. And whether it wants to be admitted or not, I think we can all connect the dots. We're smart enough to know. And especially in Texas's case, too, where Josh Hader was going to be a guy that they wanted. It kind of came out and Josh admitted, Texas was in it, but because they didn't have cost certainty, they weren't going to be able to go as high as they wanted. So as far as the Guardians go, I think we anticipated it wasn't going to be an outlandish offseason. And knowing that the young guys that they debuted last year were going to be central to what they wanted to find in spring training. So I think that's probably the most exciting part is a lot of the answers that I think they felt were here were already here, and they didn't have to go out and spend. But on the flip side of this, and you guys have known this from years past, this is a really good organization about being able to deal before the deadline, taking the prorated contracts if they're in contention. So I wouldn't put it past them to really be good at evaluating and taking stock of where they are when we get to June and July.
Cool.
So one of the moves we did make was bring back Austin Hedges.
Yeah.
Right? Fan favorite there, right?
Who knew that? That now this is good, right? He's a world champion now with Texas, so he's bringing the good mojo over here. We hope that
Yes,
that translates.
It's
so.
like LeBron James coming home, really.
I don't know, Chris, if it's that close, but for a guy that, and I think Derek Shelton said it best in Pittsburgh, is that he made the salary that he did, but he was invaluable as far as the experience, the leadership with our young kids, and then being traded to Texas. And I think Bruce Bochy did an interview with Steve Phillips where he was talking about like dude's wild. He's just he's such a great energy boost to your club, and he's been there. He is so good with the pitching staff, as obviously we've known from his time here. But man, if you're Bo Naylor, what a great guy to have to just be able to really bounce anything off of. We've been fortunate, obviously, with Sandy, as a coach, but sometimes it is different with a guy who's still playing and can really kind of give you some of that guiding light. I think it's great from that standpoint, and any extra offense that he can bring from Texas, we'll hope that he brings with him too.
What are your thoughts on our new manager so far? Any similarities to Tito, and expectations you think for this season?
Yeah, Gabriella, it's like the thing where you go from how do you fill those shoes from one of the greatest to ever do it and not have that be front of mind, right? And I think if you look at him and the kind of person that he is, we crossed paths right at the end of my career, right at the beginning of his career. And for as much as you talk to former teammates and guys that were around him now that he's been in the coaching side, it's hard to find any negative that someone has said, oh, he was off in the locker room, he was terrible here. There's nothing of that, which is great. I think the speed of the game is what I'm most interested in. I had a chance at Fantasy Camp to talk with Holbert Cabrera, who managed Columbia in the World Baseball Classic. And he's like, dude, it's so fast. Like the things that you're thinking of when we played, you got to be 3-4 innings ahead. So anxious to see in that first 3 to 4 week span, how does he make those in-game decisions? Is the speed of the game something that he's caught up to? And hey, no better guy than a catcher.
Right. I was just going to
who's
say,
used to doing those things real
that
time.
has to give him an advantage.
Yeah. So I hope it does. And for me
dealing with
personally,
head case pitchers, all the time too.
Right.
Should be able to manage a clubhouse, right?
And manage personalities. Exactly. So to answer your question, kind of roundaboutly, excited for it, and I think people need to give him some time. I don't think he's going to have all the answers right now. He might surprise us, and he might do that. But I think that's the thing that I'm looking for first and foremost is the day-to-day, and he even kind of admitted in the press conference, the media stuff that you got to do. The other things that outside of being on the field, like the field's probably going to be the respite for him those first couple of weeks.
Yeah.
I mean, there definitely seems to be a little bit of like a lightheartedness about him, kind of like what Tito had. I mean, we met him at the Cavs game and then again at Sports Awards, and both times, kind of making fun of himself, still kind of getting acclimated. And I think fans will kind of enjoy that, especially, it's going to be a breath of fresh air, guys, because like we've been so used to Tito in this town for a really long time. So now having somebody brand new that's never done it before is definitely going to be kind of different.
Different is probably the understatement too, because we are used to the experience and Tito's personality. It will be drastically different, and that's okay. But I think for the organization, it said a lot knowing the potential candidates who already had managerial experience, and for them to say, no, we feel like you're our guy right away with no experience. So I think that's another endorsement that as we get through the season, perhaps that reveals itself. Like, I guess we should have known all along that he could handle this. But until you do it, it's a whole different thing. As Sandy Alomar Jr. said when he had to fill in for Tito, he goes, I understand why those guys make the big bucks because, man alive, it starts and ends with you. And it's going to be exciting to see what he can do.
Do you think he pulls out any of the Matt Foley?
I know, we've been waiting for it.
Yeah.
We've been saying for a while, like player managers, right? Can he still get in pinch hit, and then just drop a tank and help us win? I love that he is still in this era of, hey, I just got off the field a couple years ago and I'm still with it. And I think that is a difference maker in our generation. It's a different clubhouse than, even talking with my former teammates of like, some of these things wouldn't fly, in the old days, if you will. I can't believe I'm saying that, but it is a different culture. It is a different kind of day-to-day, and I think that's a huge endorsement for Steven that it's just been a couple of years since he stopped putting on the uniform on the player side.
Anything similar that he's going to bring, that he's going to kind of take from Tito and probably incorporate into this team that you've seen so far?
Yeah, I think the humility, first and foremost, like I think he's already said, like, I don't have all the answers. Tito's said it himself. The guy's been around for 100 years, it feels like. I don't have all the answers. I don't know.
Right.
I'm trying to learn every day. And I think if you're genuine about it, it comes through in how your players are with you and the respect level and where those guys eventually develop. Like, we'll learn a lot in the first 30 days. We're going to learn a lot by the All-Star break. And I think Steven has even admittedly said, I'm not going to have all the answers right away, but I'm certainly going to try and do everything I can to learn every day so that by the time we're done with this, whether it's the first week, the first month, the first year, I'm in such a better position to not only lead the organization, but to get us back to the postseason, get us to a World Series.
Sweet. Jensen Lewis with us here. Guardians Live pre- and post-game shows on Bally's, and, of course, former pitcher with the, what was the Tribe? I guess, how do you feel about that? When people say with the Guards, it wasn't technically the Guards when you played, So
I'm a former Cleveland Indian, no matter what.
Yeah, you know what I mean? It's funny, some of the literature that gets put out, and I'm like, it's technically wrong, but okay. Anyway, thanks for being in studio with us. We're going to take a short break, and we'll be back right after this. Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland show. I'm Gab Cruz. We've got Nick Pedone, Chris McNeil, and we are joined, our garage beer interview, continuing our conversation with Jensen Lewis. Let's talk about some of the pitching here. Is Tristan McKenzie 100% healthy?
I think we're going to find out, too. This is a unique thing, not only with T-Mac, but also with Shane Bieber. I know there's some video the other day of some work that Biebs had been doing.
Adding some velocity.
Which is great. Again, bullpens are one thing. Let's see it, when he finally gets out and against live competition. But, when you look at just a couple years ago when it was T-Mac and it was Biebs and it was Cal, 30-plus starts, really seeing what health does for you in the rotation, not only taking care of that, but also taking care of your bullpen. That's why we had one of the best bullpens, because they weren't overexposed. Those guys were going deep into games. I hope that happens for both those guys, because as we know, just in Tristan's case, the potential is off the charts. The breaking ball, the fastball, the late life. I think as long as he is healthy, and they're going to do everything they can to protect him, because as we know, with those three rookies that already had sensational years last year, a lot of innings, they're going to have to really do a nice tap dance, I think, early on to not only respect that workload from those guys, but knowing that Tristan's come off injury now a couple of times, you want to try and get him through the entirety of the season.
Makes sense. One of the moves that they did make was bringing back Carlos Carrasco. Cookie, huge fan favorite. Big favorite here in this room, definitely. Any chance that we see him this year, or is that kind of like a nightmare case scenario type thing? What are your thoughts
I think last year is a perfect example. This is what kind of Chris Antonetti, Mike Chernoff always say. You want to have at least 8 guys that you feel when you leave Goodyear can be in your rotation and make major league starts. For Cookie, again, I'll never forget the day that we traded Cliff Lee, and obviously Carlos was our top prospect that we were. He was the crown jewel of the deal. I was actually in AAA at the time. We were in Lehigh Valley. That's a Phillies AAA affiliate. We come in from BP, find out the deal happened, and literally 10 minutes later, walk out of the shower and put my uniform on. Here's this guy. Standing here, probably said 9 words the whole day, but we were really excited because we all keep up with it. We know who's big time and kind of the next real stud. And I think it might have been the next day. I can't remember if he started the next day or the day after that, and it was against the old team, and we're like, oh my God, okay, all right. And Cliff had won the Cy Young the year before, so you're hoping that you're going to get a really nice haul. And for him, we had Lou Marson, we had Jason Donald also coming over there, and all former teammates of mine as well. But not only for what the player is, but the person, as we know, and overcoming cancer, and just the lighthearted nature. He reminds me of Jake Westbrook when I was a rookie. The 4 days in between starts, he was class clown. He was always having pranks and everything. Day of the start, don't talk to me, don't look at me. He's his own program, which was fine. To each their own. But yeah, Cookie always found a way to keep everyone light, And when he went out there and, never forget the start in Tampa with Kip, almost having, the no-hitter, the perfect game. There's been so many special moments, that he's brought here. So, again, to kind of roundaboutly answer your question, is this the twilight of the career? For sure. If he finds a way in, I can't wait to see it. I hope it's at home. I can't wait to see what the ovation will be like for him.
Yeah, it'll be crazy, for sure.
I know something on the minds of all the fans. Offensively, is this team going to be able to produce enough runs to win this division, to get us into the playoffs?
Yeah.
What do you think?
It's a good
Break
question.
it down.
So, of course, we know that, with Hosey and obviously with Josh and the season that he had, I mean, I still think one of the biggest snubs in All-Star game history in the modern era. I mean, how do you have numbers better than the All-Star starter there at the position and not at least make the team? I think if we can get Josh, a full season and the growth that he's had, I think that's a huge 1-2 right there. Kyle Manzardo is a guy I'll be watching for sure. And what he did in the fall league this year, and just the high praise and all the positivity we've heard around what his potential could be, that's a nice addition in there. Power might not be crazy early, but, I mean, there's a lot of ways to score runs, so hopefully the extra base, the slug, is there as well. Top of the order, I'll be intrigued to see if Steven wants to continue with Quan and Hosey. Traditionally, the last couple of years, we've seen teams' best hitters be in that 2 spot. Get you more bats, more chances to drive, guys in. Lineup construction, I think, will be intriguing too if there are any differences from how Tito usually filled it out. I think our big questions is the outfield, right? And understanding what do we get from Ramon Laureano for a lot of ABs? What happens in right field? Is it a platoon? Where does Miles Straw fit in the conversation? I think if we're going to have a great offensive year, then 1 or 2 guys have to be big coming out, and whether it's right out of camp, whether it's call-ups, whether we make a deal, is the long-term answer here. I don't know if we have that answer yet, but I think the outfield production, if it's not any better than it was last year, it's going to be really difficult.
How about the division? When you look around this division, what do you see? How do you think this is going to shake out? It's not the strongest division, let's say, in baseball. What do you think? What do you think out of the Tigers? What do you think out of the Royals? What do you think out of the White Sox?
I mean, usually it's the first 85 the last couple of years. First 85 wins, you're in. I think also I'll take Detroit to start, and kind of snake-bitten in their rotation the last couple of years as far as injuries go. But what they've added now, not only on the pitching side, but a couple of those additions now offensively too. I think it's a longer lineup. I think they're back into the bullpen as a more underrated group in the entire American League. They're intriguing. The Royals doing a ton and locking up Bobby Witt Jr. Right now, that extension is huge on so many levels. Obviously for them, lock up their face of the franchise for what they think is going to be at least 8 to 10 years. But now for the quote-unquote mid-market groups that have had trouble shelling out the money, here it is. I mean, this is a big tidal wave, I think, now moving forward. And I hope that those other teams are going to follow suit, because it's what we've been saying on the player side. The best players should play, regardless of age, and the best players should get paid, regardless of age. So that's what fans want to see. That's why you buy a ticket to come. So anxious to see what the Royals do. And I think for them, that's also a team that got better offensively. A lot more guys experience-wise in the rotation with Waka and Lugo. Cole Reagans was one of the best starters in the American League at the end of last year, and then MacArthur, their closer, is going to be fine. Will Smith, too. You talk about Hedges coming over from Texas. Yeah. All Will Smith does is go win world championships. So if you're Kansas City, I know the Chiefs just won, but I'm not ready to say the Royals are your World Series favorite. But Chicago's rebuilding. Anxious to see. I know Chris Getz wants to keep Dylan Cease, at least beginning of the year. He's probably your number 1 pitcher available once we get to the deadline. And then Minnesota, their rotation's really good. They are really, really solid. And that's even losing Sonny Gray, too. I would ask the same question about them offensively. Royce Lewis was awesome for them the last couple months of the year. You get to the bottom of that lineup now. No rise. They trade Polanco. I think more question marks for the Twins offensively than perhaps we've had in the past.
Good stuff. How about this one, Jensen? think Corey Kluber has a shot at the Hall of Fame? I think that's big talk this week. You know, obviously, maybe a little bit of a surprise retirement, just because he's been pitching, you know, and actually, you know, getting through games at the major league level. So I was at least personally a little bit surprised to see that. But do you think that there's a shot?
I think going through his resume, and to be honest, haven't done a deep dive on it. Shoe-in, obviously, for the Guardians, Hall of Fame, no question about it. Anytime you're a multi-Cy Young Award winner, anytime you have at least the postseason resume that he had in a Cleveland uniform, always great. Where does that stack up? You know, and looking at what voters value in the modern era, you know, doesn't have a World Series championship, but I think for the body of work, that'd be a great case study to see where he does line up. And again, without, you know, with his development, that's probably the best story about Corey is that when he got traded over here and, you know, was in AAA, it wasn't there right away. I mean, you're kind of looking at it like, all right, I mean, is this just another, you know, depth option in the rotation? And when he really took the next step with the late movement on his fastball, and then, of course, as we know, the signature breaking ball, I mean, it felt like a boomerang, you know, for him. It really was one of those forks in the road of a career that who could have known? And similar like Jose. Jose was a utility guy. No one would have ever predicted in that moment, like, oh, this guy's going to be a perennial all-star, face of the franchise. Same for Corey. And it's a credit to him and the development staff for really finding those areas and saying, hey, you do this, trust us, you're going to be fine. And, you know, the rest is history. He made it all happen.
Indians/Guardians legend Corey Kluber.
Exactly right. Hey, any thoughts on the Super Bowl?
Yeah, admittedly, I wanted the Niners to win. I think most of America was kind of looking at this, and you know, the whole Taylor Swift to Travis Kelce angle is one thing. I thought it was great for the sport, you know, and we see so many different things in baseball because we have so many different games, so many different people show up. But I thought it was great. I thought we were going to get a Rams-Patriots kind of clunker, the 13-3 from years ago. Like, oh, my God.
What's crazy is I was at that one, too. Every time I go to a Super Bowl week, the first half is
keep
just
you away.
First half just turns to be miserable.
Yeah, if you're on the under, you felt really great at halftime. You're pretty good. The halftime show, I guess I was joking earlier on Columbus radio today that we're now old enough that our target demographic is really being centered around. So it's Usher.
It's us. It's me back in college.
Yeah.
I was like, oh, yeah.
I was like, I know a couple of high school slow dances from the Usher days. So this is really going back. But
what would it take to get you on roller skates?
A miracle, probably. I mean, I'd do it.
On stage.
I guess the better thing is what would it take to keep me upright? Probably more. But yeah, I mean, for him, I give him so much credit, and we've seen enough acts through here where to really sing and do it and not fake it, and then all the dancing and the cardio. I mean, dude looked like he ran a half marathon by the time it was done. But I give him all the credit in the world for trying to do that. And then, hey, this is the beauty of Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes, right? The adjustments at halftime. I know the whole narrative was you can't bet against Pat Mahomes as an underdog, but I think San Francisco had it really well and really frustrated them early. But now, God, I mean, you've got 3 MVPs, you've got 3 rings, you've got 4 Super Bowl starts. I mean, you're almost halfway to Brady from just a Super Bowl start standpoint. I think the real question is, how much longer does Andy Reid coach? And is that we had this argument with Belichick and Brady. Like, was it really Belichick or was it Brady that was, you know, the difference maker? We're probably going to find out here in the next 3 to 4 years if Andy Reid does step away or if Patrick Mahomes is no longer teamed with him. Is that the difference? So right now, I really hope that I saw something on one of the sports books that it was plus 900 for the Super Bowl winner of Super Bowl 59 to be from Ohio. So you get the Browns and the Bengals in there. Probably not a bad idea. I mean, everyone today is saying, okay, Joe Burrow's the only guy that can stop the evil empire. Right. So, but yeah, I really feel that Vegas just crushed it. You were there. The only other time I've been in Vegas was when it was Steelers and the Packers, and that was insane. That was right after I think the Cosmopolitan Open, and you know, right from the coin toss and the anthem through the end of the game. I mean, cheering and booing on every play because everyone's got some sort of prop or something on it. It was great, and I'm excited to see it when it comes back because, hey, they got it down now, so we'll see how much bigger they can make it because it was huge this whole week.
Yeah, it's going to be back there in Vegas, no doubt. I mean, that was like a part of the convo out there. It's just like how many years until it's back. You know, people were thinking like sub 5 years until it's back there. And probably the same argument, too, for SoFi out in L.A. Like they build these massive stadiums.
It's a
and really
spaceship.
Like these small cities, too, that surround them,
Yeah.
you know, which is just like football villages. You know, like they're going to be right back in Vegas in no time.
Yep.
Cool, man. Jensen Lewis, thank you so much for stopping in here. Tell us real quick what you got going on for this Guardian season. And I think we want to have you pop in here a bunch more too, man.
Well, I again appreciate it and excited to see today pitchers and catchers get underway. Let's see what this group's all about. And hopefully it's a nice long year and we kind of continue to build. And I will probably have my hat in a lot of different things. Safe to say the next 3 to 4 weeks will be a lot from the local and the national perspective. So excited to continue to expand this year and be coming into your guys' home every night. So a lot of fun ahead for us.
Love it, love it. Jensen Lewis, thank you so much for popping in.
No problem, guys. Thanks for having me.
Alrighty, we are going to step aside, fill in the blank right after this. Don't go anywhere. More of the Big Play Cleveland show straight ahead.
Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland show. Gab Kreuz alongside Chris McNeil and Nick Pedone. It was really nice to hear from Jensen Lewis, get us excited about baseball. And hey, it is Black History Month. We can't forget about Larry Doby, you guys. All right? I love how the Guardians, we've been doing a lot with our history and some of the things that we do at the ballpark. And the schedule just came out for all of our giveaway stuff. So if you haven't checked that out.
We got a DJ Diesel concert.
You're really excited
at the
about
corner
Shaq.
of Carnegie and Ontario.
Yes.
I just saw it on that promo release video, and I did one of these. I was like, wait, Shaquille O'Neal is DJing at a Guardians game this season. Gotta be there. Can't
for a
miss.
guy like me, kind of out of the loop when it comes to this. What do you know about his DJ? Is there any history here? Have you seen him DJ? Is
No,
this like
I don't know
I don't
anything.
think
It's just
so.
like Shaq is going to be at Progressive Field DJing. I think it skews very heavy like EDM. So I think there will probably be a lot of baseball fans who walk out of that stadium very surprised about what to hear because I think Shaq will bring quite a little different spin to what is usually a little bit older crowd at the corner of Carnegie and Ontario. It's going to be different.
Have to Google EDM. What is EDM?
Like
Is that
electric dance,
Yeah,
like
you know,
rave
like-
music.
Yeah,
I know you're right down there in Granville with
Right.
right
in the hub of all
Well,
this.
yeah.
The music scene down there.
Yeah.
Oh,
What is
this will
that
be
festival? What am I
interesting.
blanking on?
What are you talking about?
There's like a big EDM festival that goes on. And
Oh, maybe in Thornville. Yeah, that could be it.
Yeah.
They've got. I forget the name. Of the
yeah, we're
thing
both
over there.
blanking on the name.
But yeah, and they got dinosaurs out there, and it's just the crazy week. Like
Lost
Lands.
Lands.
Yeah.
Oh,
Our
yeah.
producer
Yeah,
Ryan on
coming
that.
in clutch.
Lost
I look
Lands.
like I'm dressed
Not
for
too
it
far
with
away
the.
from you. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, you do.
All right, guys, let's do some fill in the blank.
fill in the
Before
blank.
we do it, I do want to shout out my guy, Booby Gibson, is doing Boobies Stop the Violence All-Star Basketball event, Tri-C downtown, February 22nd. Come out to support. Great local cause. Our guy at Big Play putting this thing on. Slam dunk contest, 3-point contest. You knew Booby had to throw that in there. Free throw competition. It's going to be a lot of fun. Go check it out. Booby's posting it all on his social medias, and come hang out with us.
Oh, that's fun. Are
Yeah.
you going to participate?
I'm not. No.
Oh, okay.
No.
I was gonna say I'll
Dunk
throw down.
contest?
I'll throw
Not for
down
you,
some
Nick.
threes with you.
Yeah, maybe some. I don't know. Booby didn't give me the invite. I'll be honest. So I mean, if he gives me
He
the
works
invite,
here.
represent the
He works
show.
here. We'll
Go
call him
out
up.
there.
We'll ask him.
yeah.
All right, guys, fill in the blank. Myles Garrett winning the Defensive Player of the Year is.
A chef's kiss. How great is it? How great has it been on social media with all these Steelers fans
Oh my gosh.
just belly aching right and left about Myles Garrett winning over TJ Watt? I've heard it all from everyone. I've seen all the stats that everyone sent me. Watch the game. Myles Garrett changes the game. He is the cog in the defense for the Cleveland Browns. He's what makes this thing go, and he was the Defensive Player of the Year. Sorry, Steelers fans, that's the way it is.
It was so very well deserved. And I know for a fact this award means so much to Myles Garrett. This is an award that he's been striving for years. And then the suspension happened when he was on pace to get it. And then an injury happened. The car accident happened. All these little things just keep happening to derail Myles Garrett. So I was so happy for him to finally win this award. And I'm glad for the Browns that he's won it. I know that this is a little bit of a contrarian opinion. I hope that Myles Garrett could close the chapter on this book now and leave the personal award behind. He starts off these seasons so strong and so fast, and it feels like he starts to taper at the end of the years because he's going so hard and he's putting his body through so much physically
he's
to
injured.
get
He's
these
beaten up by the end.
get these awards. Now I would like to see him preserve himself a little bit. Take that LeBron James approach and really think about the playoffs, really think about a Super Bowl, a bigger vision than just starting the season really fast, getting a lot of sacks, worrying about his own individual numbers. Myles, take a little bit of the foot off the gas, let the body heal, and be ready for playoffs.
To his credit too, though, defenses really adjust to try to shut this dude down. Like when you watch back, it's like insane, and he's just. You think he's so superhuman, but once you get multiple bodies, I mean, even him, he can't put up the same amount of numbers. But totally echoing the same sentiment. I'd love to see him have another dominant season for us. What about the Browns season award that I was most surprised by was?
Joe Flacco, the comeback player of the year. Got to be honest, Damar Hamlin almost died, didn't get it. But they decided that Joe Flacco coming off of the couch and then leading the Browns to the playoffs was greater than coming back from death. So that tells you something about the award. That also tells you something about Joe Flacco and what he just did. So I thought it was well-deserved. I didn't think he would, quite frankly, get it, but congrats to Joe Flacco.
Coming back from a season of playing with the New York Jets is more impressive than coming back from the dead. It is. I mean, that just goes to show how bad the Jets are, how great Joe Flacco was for the Browns this year. It was cool seeing him win it. I thought he deserved it, and I'll keep saying it. I want to see Joe Flacco back. I don't care about the optics. I don't care about the cap space. I like the best football players on my football team. I don't care what Deshaun might feel about it. I would love Flacco to be in that quarterback room next year.
And I'll give you a second one. Fresh off of the Super Bowl yesterday, you had the 49ers in there, of course, losing to Kansas City. Stefanski getting the coach of the year. He beat those 49ers. Did he have to go to overtime to beat the 49ers?
With P.J. Walker.
No. P.J. Walker was the guy he had at quarterback to beat the Niners. So that's the secondary. I didn't know if they'd give it to him being his second now that he's earned, but they did to Kevin Stefanski, and it was once again well-earned.
We got to step aside. More fill in the blank. Don't go anywhere.
Welcome back to the Big Play Cleveland show. I'm Gab Cruz. We're finishing up some fill in the blanks here, you guys. I know this was all Super Bowl talk and football, but the Cavs not making a move at the trade deadline is
prudent. I think it's the right move right now. You got a couple of guys you got back off of injury right now that you're trying to work into the rotation, and JB Bickerstaff's got to figure that out. So I didn't see them really making a big move. They got a good young nucleus right now. Don't blow it up. See how this team comes together for a playoff run.
Yeah, absolutely. Kobe Altman said it the best. Hottest team in basketball. Why throw that off? Good on the Cavs for staying put.
All right, now that football is over, I'm going to blank on Sundays.
Sleep in. I don't know. I no plans. Back to misery and sadness and waiting for fall. Do mock draft simulators. Who the Browns taking at 48?
Wow. There you go. Bringing us all down a nice spring day like this. Hey, we're going to have spring baseball soon. We're going to have the Cavs ramping up towards the playoffs. We've got the NBA All-Star game this weekend, so there's always something we can fill a Sunday with.
Ooh, the Waste Management Phoenix Open's atmosphere is
off the hook, and very much so this year. Unbelievable. You know, this is always one of those stops on the tour that's always different. You have the 16th hole that's built as a stadium. You've got all those fans, all the beer. This year you add in some delays, some weather delays, and some playoff golf as well. And you got people who were there on Saturday very late, and there were fights. It was basically the purge out there at some point. You saw guys going at it. You saw guys, just getting into it with players. It was really a drunken mess out there, and it kind of reminds me of Happy Gilmore, if you've watched that movie, and maybe, a nod to Chubb. That's what the Phoenix Open was doing this year, but it was wild this year, and I'm betting they dial it back a little bit for next year's version.
Yeah, absolutely. It's starting to become too much. I mean, my friend group was starting to put together plans of maybe, thinking about going next year. I'm like, you guys have fun. That doesn't look like an environment
Come
that I
on,
want to be
Nick.
in at all. People throwing up all over themselves and peeing their pants at the bar. Like that's a little bit too much for
with that shirt,
me.
you do kind of look ready for it.
I do look
remember
ready
what you're
for
wearing
it.
today.
It's Valentine's Day. I do want to give a shout out, speaking of cool apparel, to Justin Lauer, our guy, friend of show, wearing that Nick Chubb jersey, showing that Cleveland support out there on the tour. We love to see it. Justin, keep it up, and good luck to you this season.
Okay, let's take another break. We got to come back with a little bit of bets.
A little bit of bets. Let's do it.
Thanks for watching the Big Play Cleveland show.
Well, guys, football season is over, but there is no need to worry. Download Tipico Sportsbook now. The Cavs are the hottest team in basketball. College basketball slates are crazy every day. There's so many games to bet on Tipico. Our guy, Boobie Gibson, we talked about him in his little event in the last segment. He is now part of the Tipico team with us. Look out for those Boobie Cavs boosts. You know the dude loves shooting the three ball. He's boosting 3-point props. Almost every single Cavs game. Go download Tipico Sportsbook, and when you do, use promo code Cleveland100, all caps, all one word, Cleveland100. When you bet 25, you're going to get $100 of bonus bets on Tipico to bet on basketball with the Big Play crew. You got to be 21 years or older to gamble in Ohio. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. The Browns opened as 40-1 on Tipico to win the Super Bowl, Chris. The same odds as teams like the Atlanta Falcons, and there was a lot of talk on social media.
Bears and the Chicago Bears.
Boom.
Come on, Nick.
They got slighted.
They don't even know what they're doing at quarterback right now. Yeah, I think the Browns did get slighted, but I'll tell you what, this is the first year in a long time where I'm going to put some money on that future, and it's not just going to be betting with my heart. There's going to be a little bit of my head in there too, because I think the Browns are legitimate right now, and I think they're legitimate contenders for next year.
Now would be the time to do it. 40-1 once that NFL draft takes place. Really before that, once free agency takes place and we start hearing those rumors, man, keep an eye on those odds because those things are going to fluctuate. If the Browns bring in a big-time receiver, that could jump from 40-1 to 30-1.
When we do.
Yeah, when.
We're bringing them in.
All right, let's take a look. We were talking Guardians with Jensen Lewis. Obviously, so much fun around spring training. Guardians to win the AL Central, plus 330. You like that, Chris?
Yeah, why not?
I think I like it.
Value there. And like he was talking about, this division, it's not scaring anybody. So it's really a roll of the dice who's going to come out of here. And I think the Guardians, with our young nucleus, maybe Stephen Vogt gets it going with these guys, and we make a run at it. We've got good pitching, and hopefully we have just enough offense that maybe we can make some noise.
Guardians plus 220 to make the playoffs if you want a little bit of a safer route there at a playoff appearance without
play-in game.
Yeah, getting a little wild card action. How about this as we wrap the show? Anybody have any interest in taking the Cavs to win the NBA championship? 25-1 right now. Better odds than the Browns on the Cavs to win the NBA title this year. That's a little crazy to think about. I think winning the championship in basketball is so much different than winning it in any other sport.
Yeah.
I don't know if the Cavs are there yet. I got to see them win a playoff series first.
It's a long series, too. That's the thing. With basketball, it's a lot of games. It's a long series, so you really have the best teams that end up winning. But right now, you got the Cavs 2 seed chasing down that 1 seed, right? We're going to go after Boston now?
They're slipping a little.
Who
I mean, you
knows?
watch them recently. They almost had a little slip up over the weekend, almost lost to the Heat with no Jimmy Butler.
Incredible.
Things are looking quite all right for our Cavs. Make sure you guys go download that Tipico Sportsbook now. When you do, use promo code Cleveland100. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of the Big Play Cleveland Show. We'll do it again next week.